We've reset. We're ready to go. And not just a reset of all of the equipment here, but also what seems to be a reset of the regulation set that we're going in as a little sneak preview to one of the Pokemon that we're going to be featuring in this round 4 of the Lanaken double MSS weekend. We're here on the Saturday. My name is Ben Kiriak, of course, joined by the wonderful, the merry, as he so well says, Charlie Merriman.
Thank you very much indeed, Ben. I'm certainly feeling merry. I've also had a reset. I put my choice specs on, taking those contact lenses out. Were you about to say Lanaken Regional Championships? Because I would have said that.
Yeah, I know.
I was genuinely, I was about to jump in and say Regional Championships. But it feels like a Regional Championships here. We've been seeing such intense battles on stream so far, and a Terra Rock Venusaur in the previous game. That's right, you're going to want to go back and check that one out. But for now, Charel Schroeder rocking that Glastria plushie on stream as well. It's such a great, cute plushie, that. And a Glastria on the team.
Yeah.
And here's Beware to welcome us in as well with its waving paw. And on the other side, Christophe, who were able to feature on stream earlier, in fact, rocking that Blood Moon Ursaluna. We've got a Blood Moon Ursaluna mirror and indeed Farigiraf mirror.
Both of these trainers now at 2 and 1, so both have a good opportunity to get into that top cut. Usually in these mid-season showdowns, there's 5 rounds today for our trainers, and usually a record of 4 wins and 1 loss is pretty comfortable to be able to make it into a top 8, and we do have enough players to guarantee that we're going to be able to play a top 8 bracket later on today. So good to see if either of these trainers can make it through. At 3 wins and 2 losses, it's not guaranteed that you can get in, but it's still possible, and both of these trainers very, very close to their World Championships invites as well.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, Ben and I having a bit of fun on the desk here this weekend as we see some Pokemon we don't commonly see, but the invite is still on the line for these trainers. This is still an official event, and these trainers, here to have fun and mix up their teams a little bit, but fundamentally, if you're angling for that World Championships invite, you don't have too many opportunities to be able to continue to do that. So you've got to get the points while you can, and if you're enjoying Regulation Set F, then you've certainly got to get them this weekend, really, when given that the format is going to shift this coming week to Regulation Set G. I'll give a little call out to the sweet little poltergeist that is being rocked in the headphones of Charel Schroeder there on the bottom of our screens as we get into this matchup between Christophe and Charel. So it's going to be Blood Moon Ursaluna and Glastria bringing the chills on the field here in the face of Farigiraf and the Ogre Wellspring for Christophe.
So Christophe, a little bit of a recap from earlier. The Farigiraf is carrying the Throat Spray and Hyper Voice to boost up its damage a little bit, but this Glastria is carrying the Terra Fire, the Clear Amulet, Terra Blast, Terra Fire as well. 3 attacks, high horsepower, and Icicle Crash being the other 2. And this Blood Moon Ursaluna, unlike the safety goggles on Ursaluna on Christophe's team, we have the Life Orb, the more common set on that Ursaluna. So it's lots of damage on Charel's side right from the get-go, maybe trying to take advantage of the Trick Room that Farigiraf can set up.
Yeah, well, with Amoonguss coming in as well, that certainly seems to be the case. But if you're Christophe, you've got to be thinking, do I set up the Trick Room, given I'm in the face of 2 Pokemon that love to be inside it? Well, that's going to be Ogerpon Wellspring going for the Terra, getting a boost to its special defenses. Not going to be too crucial right now, given it was just the Glastria on the field from turn 0. Ivy Cudgel connecting down into the Glastria, not the freshly switched in Amoonguss, so a good call there. Glastria, though, such a bulky Pokemon, able to survive on more than half its health and taking that Hyper Voice really well as well. Of course, now the Farigiraf is going to be able to lubricate its vocal cords and deal more damage heading into the future turns. High horsepower connecting down, a little bit of chip damage there too, so no Trick Room being set up quite wisely there by Christophe in that turn.
But Christophe has done something really, really nice in this situation. Charel setting out 2 of the Trick Room attackers, but Trick Room wasn't on the board yet, and so Christophe's done a really good job at leveraging that, just being able to go on the offensive. And certainly now with the Throat Spray that's been activated from the Farigiraf and the special attack boost that comes with it, Hyper Voice is easily going to be able to knock out the Glastria this turn and won't have to worry about the redirection from the Amoonguss.
Right, the Amoonguss there that can go for those Rage Powders, but so many things that can can be stopping it. As in Field, a Pokemon that, of course, is prevalent in the game ever since its introduction. As the Ivy Cup won't be doing effective, or it won't be.
Oh, Psychic.
Into the Amoonguss slot, and the Psychic is covering those bases there, going for an Ivy Cup. But instead, staying in.
Seeing how much damage the high horsepower did to that Farigiraf, I think this was really the right call, making sure that the Amoonguss goes down, because once you've terrored your Ogerpon, it's no longer a grass type, it can have its moves redirected, it can be put to sleep by a Spore, and so, yeah, really nice targeting there for Christophe. Again, carrying on taking that advantage, but now this Ursaluna has come onto the field for Charel alongside the Incineroar that's maybe not offering fake out support because of Armor Tail on Farigiraf. It's still going to be able to put on a lot of damage, and going for its Terra Normal takes away a lot of its weaknesses while making it that much stronger as a damage dealing Pokemon.
Damage. Given it's also carrying that life force, Ivy Cudgel connecting down one of the spots here. It's going to be the Incineroar, which gives that much, and it won't be able to otherwise. Now, the Incineroar able to for a little bit of Ben, Flooding Shot will be reducing that Farigiraf's attack. Now it got that Throat Spray boost back to, and going back to Charel here. Favor of the.
That's really the only Pokemon that was able to switch in this slot, but fortunately for Charel, or unfortunately for Charel, it's going to be doing it after the Farigiraf has acted, and therefore will be taking some damage here. Blood Moon from that Blood Moon, Ursaluna focusing down onto the Farigiraf easily enough to pick up the knockout here, but taking that knockout is a little bit of a double-edged sword. I mean, not that it's going to set up Trick Room in, or that Christophe is going to want to set up Trick Room in the face of Ursaluna and the Glastria, and the Incineroar, of course, in the back as well. But you're also knocking out your only way to get that Trick Room up, because Charel has decided to leave the Farigiraf at home this game.
Right, and we've got to call up. Now, Ursaluna. Rail, Ivy. It's going to be Incineroar lurking in the back now. One more Intimidate. That will be. And still. Blood Moon. Going into the Protect. Not going to be.
No, and good opportunity for Blood Moon to get back in. I think the important part of knocking out that Farigiraf, especially when we get to this stage of the game, is that every resource that Charel has at their disposal is going to be very, very important, and not least this fake out coming in Incineroar. You have to be able to get at least one attack off for, that is air quotes, free with your Ursaluna if you're going to be able to come back into this game.
Right, Incineroar. Own instant. Now, going to be spread move. So it might be in a bit of Hyper Void will be going in. Threatening touch.
Yeah.
See, that's exactly the representative of that.
Yeah, and now it depends on how these Ursaluna are trained. Yeah, there is an advantage to Charel here, because the Ursaluna on their side of the field has got the Terra Normal going, it's got the Life Orb, it's got the power behind it. But there is that Ogerpon waiting in the wings, and I think Christophe is in a great position to whittle down the health of the Ursaluna on Charel's side of the field, take it to within Ivy Cudgel range, you know that the Ogerpon's going to outspeed it, and it's going to be very difficult to do lots of damage to Ursaluna. Just look at it, take that Flare Blitz.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Ursaluna eventually fell flat instead. Not being Ursaluna might just. But, you know, useful information to for Charel and Pokémon coming out. Damage output limited. Hyper Voice coming out of just out last hit. Hitting in. Oh, okay. Critical hit onto the Ursaluna, just as it looks like it could be time for the sun to rise on this Blood Moon Ursaluna. Down. Incineroar does get that recovery from the berry, but critical hit on the Christophe's Ursaluna, that's not something that was on.
Well, I think what is on the cards is that Piggy Berry, though, from the Incineroar instead. Going down to just a sliver of HP and then being able to recover up a little bit more than the Citrus Berry. But now this Ogerpon joins the field again. It's a nice way for Charel to get a little bit of a nice knockout in that turn, but it's the Ogerpon here that's going to be able to take this game for Christophe. And I think a wise protect, actually, from Charel is, like, we talk about this quite a bit. The opportunity for you to take a little bit more thinking time is always something that's valuable, especially when you don't get the the run of the first match. Maybe your game plan that you had was not quite what you thought that your opponent was going to be going for, and instead it didn't really work out. Now you've got to go back to the drawing board for game 2 and think, hey, what can I do better? Because Christophe was in control the entire match long.
Yeah. Felt like, exactly, you say the entire back to strange. Blaster is not in a. I mean, neither of them. Get them in.
Yeah.
To be, yes,
yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Could be banking on stuff was going to. Are you going to. Went for. So, yeah, I think right from the off that made. Think more deeply about what Christophe has never. Charel might need to setting up their own so well, for example. Really from the cudgel, but then sidekick up into that super.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you've just got to be savvy. Double targets.
I think that's right, and yeah, there's definitely something to do with the calls that you make. And actually, I'm thinking whether or not the lead that Charel went really actually could have done something completely different in that game. You're right. It's not something that we see too often, but I quite like the idea of maybe going on the offensive straight away. Farigiraf, not a Pokemon that's known for doing lots and lots of damage, at least not until it gets its Throat Spray going. And so you basically decide to trade, well, I'm just going to do loads of damage turn 1 when you lead with your Farigiraf because I'm not so threatened. And then maybe later you've got Farigiraf in the back, you can set up a Trick Room and you can go for the more conventional strategies day to day, but that's not really what Charel had the opportunity to do. So maybe a Terra Normal turn 1 could have changed the landscape of that game if the Ursaluna went a little bit more on the defensive. But we'll have to see how these trainers are going to be changing up the game. Christophe going with Farigiraf and Ursaluna. Charel's deciding, you know what? I want to set up Trick Room this game instead and going with their own Farigiraf and the Incineroar.
And who can play? Slightly disappointing. Aslan. Training card. But alas, it's going to be 8. But now, of course, you've got the Trick Room. Which of you up here? Like the
Right.
Well, it's really good. But got the instant. Threatening more.
Yeah, that is definitely the big difference between these two board states right now. I'm really glad you pointed that out, Charlie, because yeah, it's offensive versus defensive here, and the defensive is having to make a few different plays, switching the Farigiraf out into the Amoonguss, so Charel really favouring getting that onto the board in the early game, and it's going to be a Terra Grass from the Incineroar, trying to catch an Earth Power from Christophe's Ursaluna here, and maybe try to reply with a parting shot, especially because it's carrying a safety goggles and it's not getting that boosted damage from the Life Orb. That could be really, really big.
Right, exactly. Say, does not common use, but protects coming from knockoff target down into. Connecting right down, gonna maximize that damage out.
Wow, what a call.
See how much it's
Is it a one-hit knockout?
For the one-hit knockout on the moves, not even a critical hit. Christophe knowing the damage calculations so well. That is a key.
Regardless of if you've got the safety goggles on that Blood Moon Ursaluna, you still need your other Pokemon to be able to act. Maybe you don't want them to go to sleep as well. That's got to be part of your game plan, part of your thinking in knocking out the Amoonguss that turn. As it stands, Charel gets the opportunity to get the Ursaluna in sort of for free again, but it wasn't there in the lead like it was in game one, and now that's going to put a lot of pressure back on Christophe. But I feel like that's a worthy trade. You know, you trade a little bit of momentum, Charel being able to bring in that Blood Moon Ursaluna, but for that you lose a key part of the puzzle. And I'm wondering now if it's the time for Christophe to start thinking about setting up that Trick Room. Now the Amoonguss has been dispatched, you don't have to worry about Spore's redirection in the later stages of the game.
You don't, but you have to worry about fact. So parting shot, connect. Trigger off there. Trigger off the jump. On that. Know whether or not that is a critical hit height.
That could be big.
That could be big. With a Throat Spray special attack there. Well, with the Life Orb chip count.
Yeah. But Hyper Voice.
Here's the responding Hyper Voice. It's not boosted by Life Orb.
It's enough
for the knockout on. Got the thing.
It certainly could have been, but the Life Orb chip and the extra bit of damage, the Terra Normal from Christophe's Ursaluna, like, I don't know what that calculation is. It would have been close either way, but you're right, the critical hit. Definitely, if there was a line to push it over, that critical hit did definitely do so. And now, Charel down to the last two Pokemon, both the defensive piece that you really want to take into the sort of mid and end games in Amoonguss been dispatched. The Ursaluna, the big powerhouse, has been dispatched. Now you've got to deal in an uphill battle against these four Pokemon, but the Farigiraf trained so well here, as well as the Incineroar, to be able to go first, knock off into the Ursaluna, Hyper Voice into the Ursaluna, get your own Throat Spray activated, and get a little bit of momentum back in your favor.
Pokemon Farigiraf is able to. So, yeah, Charel is down, but certainly that's Terra Grass. Let's rejoining them. Very important. Most so,
well, it looks like a U-turn going to be coming out. Not the move that I was actually thinking of there, but U-turn does allow it to pivot out and change its moves later. I was wondering whether we were going to see a Ice Spinner coming out from that Urshifu on Christophe's side. That would have been enough to dispatch of the Farigiraf, but also super effective on that now grass type Incineroar as well. But instead we see the U-turn knocking out the Farigiraf, the Ogerpon coming in. It's not going to be able to do a lot of damage to this Incineroar, but the Urshifu certainly will be able to. Whether it's Ice Spin or whether it's U-Turn, both of them are super effective here.
Effective in. Not gonna go. We'll be activating rather in whatever way you match up. And give it writings on the wall. Play out.
We are indeed, and it's the Ice Spinner doing that remaining 21 hit points that is needed to be able to knock out that Incineroar. So sparkly, but not enough to carry the game forward. And it is going to be Christophe that's going to be taking this set 2-0.
2-0 for Christophe, and earlier. So having a fantastic record.
Yeah.
I said. But yeah, I think it seemed like Christophe was just able to so much of what Charel so often. Charel tried in that second game, but ultimately still able to get the advantage. Blood Moon.
Yeah.
Securing that one fights Luna.
Yeah, and I think this goes to show how many physical threats that we have in the format and how Amoonguses tend to be trained to take those physical hits, but it's at the expense of being able to take those big special hits like Blood Moon from Ursaluna, and that can really, again, it's the choices that we all make when we're building our teams, when we're preparing for these tournaments, is like, what is the Pokemon that is the most threatening to me? Is it a special attacker or is it a physical attacker? And you know, those are things that you've really got to be thinking about a little bit, lest you fall prey to Ogerpon Blood Moon, Saluna Blood Moon. Lots of forms in the game at the moment, but yeah, they're all doing lots of damage.
Yeah, they are.
That's for sure.
I want to give a shout out to use of blessed there. Very much. It's not a word we hear too often anymore. Language, but I think it's
Bring it back.
Yeah, bring it back.
This is the time.
Oh yeah, protect lest it.
Yes.
It's very satisfying. But
Yeah.
give it a try out. Give it a try out yourself this weekend. That's your Scream. It's a shame we weren't able to see that Glastria get up to. Love to have seen it. See why Charel had. You know, plenty more time for Charel to.
I think so, and it's been good for Charel this tournament already. We know, having a little bit of a chat to him before the game got going, and of course, you know, it's the talk of the match. Yeah, Glastria is not something that we see too often, but yeah, asked Charel the question: is it going well? Is it doing what you want it to do? The answer was a resounding yes. And you know, it's such a strong Pokemon. It's so powerful. We saw it in year before last year's formats, when we were just coming back to the early stages of live events, when you know, we could have a little bit of that brick break action and get some weakness policy boost on it, use that Grim Neigh ability to proper effect, and Chilling Neigh. Yes, yeah, and yeah, really see it compounding all of the benefits that it has up its sleeve. So bulky, really actually quite powerful. But I think in this particular matchup, the thing that it maybe would have liked to have is close combat rather than the Terra Fire, Terra Blast. Against the Blood Moon Ursaluna, you kind of want that fighting coverage there, and it makes things a little bit difficult, especially when they're Terra Normaling and taking away their weakness to ice.
Right. Now, given a break now, so trainers round 2 very short for now, shortly, and well, what question should we give? Armor Rouge.
Good one.
What's your favourite?
Yeah, kind of go for I like Charel Edge.
Charel Edge
I
as
like,
well.
yeah, it's
Well, prove us wrong.
underutilized.
Yeah, I agree. Let us know what you think, and we'll see.